There is an older gorilla who acts as the big uncle of the jungle, and he has a serious headache. He runs the jungle of the United States, and that jungle is facing a huge brain drain crisis. In plain words, thousands of highly skilled monkeys are deciding to pack their bags and leave, chasing better chances in other jungles far away. These are not random monkeys with no training. They include some of the sharpest researchers, doctors, scientists, and even many ambitious university students who see no future in staying where they are. The reasons are not exactly a mystery. Over the past years, the jungle government has canceled thousands of research grants that once kept laboratories alive. It has repeatedly cut the budgets of major federal agencies, including the Department of Health and other science-focused offices. Funding for training young scientists has been slashed again and again, leaving many of them stranded with no support. When a jungle treats its brightest minds like this, it is no surprise that so many of them dream of leaving what was once called the jungle of the free and looking for greener branches elsewhere. The uncle of the jungle is not blind to this situation. Behind all the grand speeches and shiny slogans, he knows that the United States jungle cannot keep shrinking its talent pool forever and still hope to stay powerful. At the same time, his new downsizing and austerity measures, including one large and very beautiful bill that slowly cuts spending in many areas, are starting to bite. He wants to save bananas, reduce costs, and make things look efficient. But cutting support for science and education only drives more and more monkeys away. So he feels that he needs a bold new trick, something that looks radical and clever, to attract talent, money, or both back into the jungle. His proposed answer sounds simple on the surface. He wants to sell fast-track residency and a path to citizenship to monkeys who can prove that they have at least 1 million bananas sitting safely in their accounts. Not 1 million in promises, but 1 million in actual bananas ready to be handed over. When you first hear it, the idea sounds almost like a strange joke. But it is not a rumor, not a leaked document, and not a whispered plan. It is being described in real time on official government pages, where one can see a clear price tag attached to the right to live and eventually belong to the jungle. The big questions are obvious. Is this scheme even legal under the rules of the jungle? And, more importantly, does it really solve the brain drain the way the uncle claims? According to its own marketing, the centerpiece of the idea is something called a jungle gold card. This card is described as a 1 million banana golden ticket that opens the door to life in the United States jungle. In practical terms, it is an express lane to permanent residency and, later on, citizenship. That 1 million banana figure is not symbolic. Every applicant is expected to hand over that amount of bananas, and on top of that pay a processing charge of 15,000 bananas just to submit the application. The structure of the gold card is built on top of 2 existing visa categories. The first is a category created for monkeys with truly extraordinary abilities in science, education, arts, business, or sports. It became so famous that it earned the nickname Einstein Visa, because it was imagined for monkeys at the very highest level in their fields. The second is focused more on research and advanced professional work, targeting highly skilled researchers, scientists, professionals with graduate degrees, and other individuals whose work is expected to benefit the jungle. Instead of creating a brand new legal path, the uncle of the jungle takes these 2 routes and wraps them in a new shiny package, which is then sold as the gold card. He tries to make the deal look even sweeter by saying that wealthy monkeys do not have to come alone. They can bring their spouses and children, allowing the entire family to share the United States jungle experience. However, every single family member faces their own price. Each one must be backed by a separate 1 million banana contribution, and each application carries the extra 15,000 banana processing fee. In other words, a family of 4 would not be paying 1 million bananas total, but 4 million bananas, plus 4 sets of processing fees, for the chance to build a new life in the jungle. There is also a corporate variation of the scheme. Under that setup, corporations can sponsor employees by paying 2 million bananas per sponsored monkey. At first, this might sound like an appealing tool for companies that want to recruit top global talent. But the corporate gold card comes with extra strings attached. There is an annual maintenance charge that is calculated as a percentage of the total contribution, and there is a transfer fee of 5% if the sponsorship is moved or sold in some way. In effect, jungle residency for employees becomes something like a commercial asset that corporations can buy, hold, or transfer, as long as they keep paying regular fees. By the time you add up all of these pieces, the picture starts to resemble a strange kind of subscription model. In this version of 2026, residency in the United States jungle can function like paying for a premium streaming service. Only instead of paying a small monthly fee to watch movies, you are paying an enormous monthly cost just to maintain the right to live in a particular jungle. Even a 1% maintenance fee on a contribution of 2 million bananas translates into around 1,700 bananas every single month. That is on top of the original 2 million banana payment. Despite how extreme these numbers sound, official claims suggest that there is strong interest in the program. Certain political figures boast that the gold card and related tiers could generate trillions of bananas in the coming years. They say that in the most recent year, the scheme brought in about 1,300,000,000 bananas, which they present as proof that the market is large and the appetite is real. It is certainly believable that wealthy heirs, oligarchs, or members of powerful families would pay high sums to lock in a safe home in the jungle. But when one hears talk of trillions in potential revenue, doubts quickly appear. Simple arithmetic shows why. The United States hands out roughly 1 million permanent residency cards each year across all categories. That includes family reunification, employment-based visas, the first and second employment-based categories, and others combined. To reach trillions of bananas, the jungle would need hundreds of thousands, or even millions of wealthy individuals to pay those 1 million or 2 million banana contributions. That would mean either completely overwhelming the existing immigration system with rich applicants or assuming levels of demand that are wildly optimistic. It is hard to see how those estimates line up with reality. On paper, defenders of the plan say that the gold card is a practical upgrade. They argue that it simply speeds up legitimate applications in the first and second employment-based categories, cutting red tape and letting the world's best and brightest reach the jungle faster. The extra bananas flowing in are presented as a side benefit that helps plug the gap in the national budget, which they like to describe as a black hole of debt that constantly needs feeding. But the real issues lie in the details. The gold card closely copies another investor-based route that already exists, yet manages to remove the parts that actually help the jungle. That other path is known as the fifth employment-based investor visa. Like the gold card, it involves a large investment of bananas. The difference is that to maintain residency under that route, the investor must create at least 10 full-time jobs for qualified workers in the United States, usually within a specific period of time and under close oversight. This means the bananas are not just sitting in a bank account. They must be used in projects that produce real work opportunities and real economic activity for monkeys who already live in the jungle. The gold card does not require any such contribution. There is no obligation to launch a business, employ local workers, or invest in productive activity. Once the 1 million bananas are handed over and the background check is passed, the holder receives their status without any promise of future benefits to the broader society. The entire idea rests on the assumption that any monkey with that amount of bananas must, by definition, be beneficial to the jungle. From the point of view of wealthy applicants, the choice is simple. They can either go through the investor visa, which demands that they set up projects and create jobs, or they can pay roughly the same amount for a gold card that asks almost nothing of them beyond the initial transfer. There are also deep legal questions. Under the rules of the United States jungle, the power to create new visa categories and to define immigration policy belongs to the Lawmaking Council, not to the uncle alone. That is why, in the small print, the Gold Card program quietly explains that successful applicants are not getting a brand new legal status. Instead, they are being slotted into the existing first or second employment-based categories. The gold card is, in legal terms, more of a marketing label placed on top of processes that were designed for something entirely different. Many lawyers find the structure troubling, especially because the required 1 million banana payment is not labeled as an official fee, but rather as a voluntary gift to the jungle government. When a so-called gift is clearly tied to a promised outcome, such as residency and a path to citizenship, it starts to look less like generosity and more like a direct purchase. The fear is that it begins to resemble paying a public authority to deliver a desired result, which is exactly the kind of behavior anti-corruption rules are supposed to prevent. An additional concern is long-term stability. Because the gold card is built on executive decisions in old visa categories, a future leader could undo or sharply alter the program with a stroke of a pen. Imagine paying more than 1 million bananas for what is described as a lifetime membership, only to discover a few years later that the policy has been reversed and the benefits are cut back. There is even recent historical memory of a different uncle arriving in power and immediately reversing many immigration measures adopted by his predecessor on his very first day in office. That example shows how quickly these schemes can be changed. If a new administration decides that selling golden tickets was a mistake, what happens to everyone who already paid? Since the contribution is described as a gift, not a conventional investment, there is no clear path to reclaiming those bananas. Buyers are left in a vulnerable position, hoping that the political winds do not shift too strongly against them. And legal uncertainty is only one side of the problem. Security experts warn that the gold card opens a wide gate to certain types of applicants who may not be welcome. These include oligarchs from rival jungles, drug cartel leaders, professional money launderers, global scammers, and other figures looking for a safe harbor. Other countries have run similar experiments, often referred to as golden passports or golden visas. Jungles such as Cyprus and Malta, along with a few other European states, allowed wealthy foreigners to obtain residency or even citizenship in exchange for large payments or investments. Over time, investigative reports and anti-corruption organizations exposed serious abuses, including the sale of documents to individuals linked to criminal networks and dirty money. After waves of scandal, several of these programs were paused or shut down entirely, precisely because the risks outweighed the promised benefits. The practical difficulty is always the same. It is incredibly hard to verify with full confidence whether a fortune was built honestly. Banks and officials can ask for documents and explanations, but there will always be ways to hide the true source of bananas. One cannot simply ask a newcomer whether their bananas are clean and expect a truthful answer. When a country starts selling fast-track residency to any monkey with enough bananas, it increases the chance that some of those bananas come from corruption, fraud, or other crimes. Once the money enters the system and the status is granted, reversing the damage becomes extremely complicated. The fine print of the gold card mentions that residency can be revoked in cases of national security threats or major criminal activity. However, by the time such problems are discovered, the bananas will already have been accepted, possibly moved or spent, and the individual may have used their new status to open accounts, build networks, or move even more wealth. Meanwhile, no requirement exists that they create jobs or produce public benefits in return. In that sense, the gold card offers all of the usual risks of investor schemes and removes many of the safeguards. Even with all these dangers, discussions about an even more exclusive tier have appeared. Instead of a 1 million banana contribution, ultra-wealthy applicants could pay 5 million bananas for a platinum-style card. The promised advantage would not simply be quicker processing. It would be a dramatic tax benefit. Holders of this higher tier would be able to avoid paying local taxes on all income earned outside the United States jungle. That means that the more money they generate abroad, the more appealing it becomes to hold this special status while enjoying life inside the jungle. This kind of arrangement would be extremely attractive to monkeys who have large international businesses, complex offshore structures, or fortunes spread across multiple jungles. A platinum card holder could spend up to 270 days each year inside the United States, which is most of the year, while keeping foreign earnings fully shielded from local tax collectors. At the same time, regular gold card holders, the ones who paid only 1 million bananas, would have to pay taxes on their global income just like ordinary residents and citizens. The logic becomes painfully clear. The more bananas an applicant can hand over at the start, the fewer taxes they pay later on. This pattern shows that the program is not truly about attracting excellent researchers, innovators, or entrepreneurs. It is about appealing to the ultra-rich who want comfort, security, and favorable tax treatment. The platinum idea underlines whose interests are being served. It is designed for those with deep pockets who want to grow even richer while minimizing their responsibilities to the jungle where they spend much of their time. Meanwhile, the real victims of brain drain are left out of the picture. The scientists, researchers, young engineers, and students who are considering leaving the United States jungle are not in a position to casually give away 5 million bananas, or even 1 million. They are the ones seeing their grants canceled, their departments downsized, their salaries squeezed, and their career prospects dimmed. Various surveys and reports indicate that a large share of researchers based in the United States, sometimes estimated at around 3/4, have thought seriously about leaving or seeking long-term positions abroad. At the same time, international student applications to United States universities have fallen sharply, with drops in the range of about 30% mentioned in recent discussions. Other jungles are moving quickly to attract this displaced talent. Countries such as the United Kingdom, France, Canada, and Belgium are rolling out specialized visas for researchers and skilled workers, improving funding conditions, or at least promising more stable support. They see the United States jungle's funding cuts as an opportunity to recruit top minds who might otherwise have stayed. As this global competition intensifies, a jungle that focuses on selling golden tickets to wealthy passengers, instead of investing in its own brainpower, risks falling behind in innovation and discovery. While the uncle of the jungle tightens the screws on universities, laboratories, and public agencies, he stretches out a red carpet woven from golden threads for wealthy newcomers, regardless of whether they will build anything of lasting value. Yet there is resistance. Many monkeys, both experts and ordinary citizens, see the warning signs. Politicians across the spectrum, from different tribes of the jungle, have spoken out against the idea of tying residency and citizenship so directly to the size of a wallet. Legal challenges are being drafted. Immigration advocates, public interest lawyers, and policy analysts are raising alarms about inequality, corruption risks, and the erosion of democratic principles. Monkeys who feel uneasy about this direction are not completely powerless. They can speak with local representatives, sign petitions, participate in public hearings, and support organizations that push for fairer, more transparent immigration policies. They can point to the experiences of other jungles that tried to sell citizenship and ended up with scandals and regrets. They can argue that residency and citizenship should not be treated as luxury items available only to the highest bidder, but as serious statuses connected to contribution, responsibility, and long-term commitment. There is a reason that most public officials are required to reject expensive gifts or report them openly. The concern is that large gifts can shape decisions in ways that hurt the wider community. When a government begins to describe million banana transfers as innocent gifts given in exchange for powerful advantages, many monkeys will naturally question whether the line between public service and private interest is being blurred. No matter how the gold card and any future platinum cards are marketed, they raise deep questions about what kind of jungle the United States wants to be. In the end, one can only hope that if the program continues, at least some of the bananas collected are redirected to the monkeys who have suffered most from cuts, such as struggling researchers, students, and public workers. But hope alone is not a plan, and only time will reveal whether this golden experiment becomes a brief curiosity, a long-running loophole, or a full-blown scandal. To avoid confusion, remember that this entire story is told as satire about fictional monkeys in a make-believe jungle. The characters, their bananas, their cards, and their policies are part of a humorous imaginary world, even if that world sometimes feels uncomfortably close to reality.